Hospitals closed, transportation halted, residents banned from leaving their own homes. A new wave of infections has over 30 million in China adapting to a new normal. An incident in a Chinese hospital. A reported COVID-19 case cover-up sparks a fight among medical staff. Is North Korea reactivating its nuclear power? Satellite imagery may hold the answer, an insight for the future. And for those watching our full episode, China may come to regret its stance on the Russia-Ukraine war. But is it winning another long-plotted yet quiet conflict? And can the West fight back? And is China trying to distance itself from Russia? Beijing gives us one of its most explicit statements yet on the global sanctions against Russia. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Before we start, a quick thank you to today's sponsor, Shenyun Performing Arts. Have you ever wondered what China was like before the Communist Party took over in 1949? This show depicts just that. Shenyun showcases China's rich cultural heritage and what the regime destroyed, which is why the performance is banned in China. Captivating and uplifting, Shenyun brings to life the legendary heroes of old, portraying the spirituality and deep wisdom present in ancient Chinese tradition. Get your tickets today at shenyun.show/ChinaInFocus. Enter the code CNInFocus with no spaces to waive ticket fees. First, a look at China's pandemic front. Close to 40 million people in China are under strict lockdowns right now. That's as authorities there battle a rising wave of CCP virus cases, which causes COVID-19. Here's more.
Getting food deliveries from behind locked gates is the new normal for some residents in Shanghai. And over 100 international flights to the financial hub have been diverted to other airports. Over 20 million people live there. And many of those residents are lining up for mass virus testing. That's as new infections have spread to over 20 provinces in China, including other major cities like Shenzhen and Beijing. One major virus hotspot is Jilin, a province in northeastern China. The city's 20 million people have effectively been grounded. They are not allowed to leave their province unless they get permission from police officers. One resident there tells NTD about the impact the lockdowns have had on his life. To protect his identity, we've distorted his voice.
All the schools there, universities, middle schools, and elementary schools have shut down.
Yang also has few opportunities to leave home.
I'm allowed to leave my home every 2 days to get groceries.
A local healthcare worker says hospitals are suspending their operations. To protect her identity, we gave her a pseudonym, Wang Ping.
My hospitals has closed because of virus cases. Hospitals are not seeing patients now, including the major facilities here.
Other cities in China are also ordering lockdown measures. In a city called Langfang in northern China, residents aren't allowed to leave their homes unless it's an emergency. In Beijing and Shanghai, authorities have closed schools, parks, and movie theaters. Long-distance travel is also suspended.
As much of China copes with these rising cases, tensions peaked during an incident at a healthcare center. A fight broke out among medical staff in a Shanghai hospital. An insider says a cover-up of confirmed virus cases in the hospital triggered the argument. The hospital later confirmed the situation but did not disclose what caused it. A clip of the incident is circulating on Chinese social media. It captures the medical staff involved inside Shanghai's 6th hospital. According to a relative of a nurse there, the hospital concealed that patients in the building had tested positive for COVID-19. Because of the non-disclosure, those patients weren't sent to facilities specially designated to provide virus treatment. Instead, they were kept at the hospital, which does not have protective barriers and special equipment to handle the infections. What's more, doctors there asked nurses to care for the sickened patients, despite them only having access to masks without other PPE. That's what reportedly led to the conflict between doctors and nurses. The hospital issued a statement on its official website on Monday, saying the clip was real and that the hospital is investigating the matter. Aside from healthcare, next we look at news from the financial sector. Chinese stocks rallied on Wednesday after Beijing vowed to keep markets stable. China's Vice Premier Liu He explained Beijing would roll out support for the economy. His speech sparked a bounce from 21-month lows for local equities. It soothed overseas investors' nerves and fueled a rally for U.S. and Europe-listed Chinese shares. E-commerce platforms JD.com, Alibaba, and Pinduoduo saw their shares jump between 20 and 31% in U.S. pre-market trading. This after they all fell to their lowest point in years earlier this week. Investor concerns over China's handling of the Russia-Ukraine war were likely to blame for the drop, plus the risks that some Chinese firms could be delisted from the U.S. stock market. That's because of an ongoing dispute with U.S. regulators. China's securities regulator chimed in Wednesday, saying it will continue to communicate with its U.S. counterpart on audit supervision issues. American regulation requires all companies listed in the U.S. to open their books for supervision by the Securities and Exchange Commission. But Chinese authorities have never granted full access to those audit books, citing national security concerns. Outside China, new details are coming in about one of its neighbors, North Korea, which appears to be reactivating its nuclear and missile power facilities. That's according to what an expert said Tuesday.
Pyongyang is trying to rapidly reach a certain level of military achievement by developing, testing, evaluating its nuclear development and various new guided weapons as they had aimed and planned.
For the first time since 2017, the U.S. and South Korea have warned that North Korea may be preparing to launch an intercontinental ballistic missile at full range. On Wednesday, North Korea sent up a suspected missile, but it appeared to explode shortly after liftoff in the skies over North Korea's capital. That's according to the South Korea military. South Korea said North Korea looks to be restoring its Pyongyang nuclear site. That suspicion comes after a commercial satellite captured imagery of the site with signs of new construction. The nuclear test site is just over 60 miles from China's border. North Korea closed the site in 2018 and invited a group of foreign media to witness its demolition. But some have raised doubts.
It's more reasonable to say that the North hadn't completely dismantled the nuclear site back then, given the recent construction of a new building near the Punggye-ri nuclear test site. The North must have been prepared for the nuclear test by drilling additional tunnels to some extent, and they can also drill new ones.
Starting in 2006, North Korea has conducted 6 nuclear tests at the site. Last week, North Korean state media reported that leader Kim Jong-un had inspected a satellite launch ground. He said rockets could be launched to carry satellites, including one designed for reconnaissance. It may still be too soon to tell the extent of North Korea's nuclear goals. Shin said it will take at least 5 years for the system to stabilize as a whole. And across the strait, Taiwan is ramping up military exercises amid mounting threats from China. Beyond that, an intelligence report suggests that Chinese leader Xi Jinping could well launch an attack on the island this fall.
Taiwan held its latest round of military drills in its northernmost territory, called Dongying. It's a remote island directly off the coast of China. That's according to footage released by the Taiwan Military News Agency. In the video, soldiers fired shells at floating red crosses representing the enemy. Echoes of machine guns and cannons were heard around the shoreline. Taiwan didn't reveal details of its military presence in Dongying, but the region has been on the front lines of Taiwan's defense range since the 1950s. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Taipei has been on high alert, looking to prevent Beijing from taking similar action against Taiwan. Although no signs of Chinese military action have been detected yet, a recent intelligence report from the Russian Federal Security Service is calling for renewed attention. The leaked document says China's Communist Party leader Xi Jinping was, quote, at least considering taking over Taiwan in the fall. That's to get himself re-elected for a third term in power, as the Chinese Communist Party prepares to hold its 20th Congress this coming fall. Beijing claims Taiwan is part of mainland Chinese territory, despite the island's separate constitution and democratically elected leaders. At a foreign affairs briefing, Taiwanese Foreign Minister Joseph Wu said he could not confirm the authenticity of the report. But he added Taiwan is closely monitoring the possibility of an attack from China, and the country is ready to defend itself at any time.
This week, China said it firmly opposes any arms sales between the United States and Taiwan. The Wednesday statement came after reports that Taiwan has finalized its latest purchase, a military communication system from the U.S. Taiwan is home to 23 million people. The self-ruled island is located just 100 miles off China's eastern coast. The Chinese Communist regime claims it as its own territory, despite its separate leadership. And that's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We are now sharing a shortened version of our program on YouTube. That's after being demonetized for a year. Full episodes can be watched on our partner platform, Epoch TV. To sign up for a 14-day free trial, please click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer, and see you tomorrow.
Every once in a while, something comes along, so masterful, it leaves you in awe. So inspiring, it changes your life. So beautiful, you wish it would never end. When that happens, it's something not to be missed. Shen Yun, an all-new production every year.
The performance was enchanting.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
It touches you. It really does.
The expertise of the dancers was really, really strong.
To know that it was live music was really fantastic.
We didn't want to miss this.
Make sure you see it.
Have to come. Life-changing.